So recently I showed you guys a video on how to get big clean reverbs in your mixes. With that being said, I used the sidechain ducking feature to basically compress the reverb anytime it actually heard the vocal or sound source so that the reverb would be more back, give you more depth, and you have a vocal or sound source that has a little bit more fidelity, being that the reverb is being taken back every time it hears the vocal. Well, with that, there was also a little bit of a workflow issue where I had to set up the sidechain, get it to the reverb, tweak, and all those types of things. Well, Cable Guys has created a plugin called the Reverbshaper. And with the Reverbshaper, it truly does eliminate a lot of the workflow issues that I was running into and making me more efficient. On top of that, it also feels, from just looking at the parameters in the GUI, it really feels like I'm going to be able to be way more creative with the reverb and dialing in settings. Reason why I'm bringing that up is because I know a lot of times for myself personally, I'll open up a reverb, pick a preset, do a few tweaks there, and leave it as it is. But with this particular Reverbshaper from Cable Guys, I really feel like I'm going to be dialing in whatever the song physically calls for the sound. Let me show you what I mean. So this is the Reverbshaper plugin, and it's within the Shaper Box 3, which is awesome. And what I'm gonna do is, let's play a vocal, and all I'm gonna do is tweak. I'm literally gonna open up this reverb with the actual vocal, and I'm just going to tweak it and try to get the best sound out of it. Let's see what I can do. And then I'll explain this entire plugin.
Getting deeper, I feel like we on our way now. And I don't know where we gon' land, but baby, we gonna find out. I spent so much time with you, and now I hear it so loud. It's unbearable, I can't escape or hide out. So we have to live life tonight, 'cause nothing ever felt this right. So I won't fight the feelings that I feel tonight. Tell me what you think, and we can take this. Hope we both make it, 'cause tonight I might want you to be the light. Getting deeper, I feel like we on our way now. And I don't know where we gon' land, but baby, we gonna find out. I spent so much time with you, and now I hear it so loud. It's unbearable, I can't escape or hide out. So we have to live life tonight, 'cause nothing ever felt this right. So I won't fight the feelings that I feel tonight. Tell me what you think, and we can take this. Hope we both make it, 'cause tonight I might.
Okay, now let's hear that back and forth without the reverb there, without first.
Getting deeper, I feel like we on our way now. And I don't know where we gon' land, but baby, we gonna find out. I spent so much time with you, and now I hear it so loud. It's unbearable, I can't escape or hide out. So we have to live life tonight, 'cause nothing ever felt this right. So I won't fight the feelings that I feel tonight. Tell me what you think, and we can take this. Hope we both make.
Really fun to use, super simple, and I didn't even use all of the crazy things that I can really do with this, but the fact that I was able to pick a reverb, dial in my settings, and I know you've seen some of these settings on other reverbs, but I'm gonna show you some things that you probably didn't even realize I was doing within this reverb. For instance, like ducking it all within the plugin. I didn't need an extra EQ to EQ the reverb. I didn't need anything as far as setting up the sidechain and things of that nature to duck it or anything. I was able to change the gate. There's a lot of really cool features within this Reverbshaper. I barely scratched the surface with what I did, but I was able to dial that reverb in super easy and get it to where I felt like I was comfortable. I'm gonna show you this plugin from top to bottom, as well as why I brought up it being an extremely powerful way for you to get really creative within the plugin. Stick around, check this out. You're gonna like this a lot. Oh my gosh, are you like watching my video? Did you know you can comment, like, and subscribe? Okay, don't skip. Okay, don't skip. Okay, back to your video. I'm sorry. All right. So, first and foremost, I'm going to put this back to factory default so we can just start from the top of it. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take you from left to right and just go down the entire line. Please stick around for this part, because this part is where it gets really creative and nuts with the LFO tools. So first thing we have is this EQ section. And this EQ section is not just any EQ section for the most part. Of course, or maybe if you're familiar with it, long story short, I can take the reverb and I can say, hey reverb, I really don't want you to affect anything below, for instance, 180 hertz and below, or anything above 2.4K and above. So now I'm focusing the reverb. Now I know you've seen this on other reverbs, but the cool thing about this is that they've really put a lot of thought into this, in the sense of, for instance, if you look at this right here, you see this thing that says 6 dB. Right in the crossovers. What a lot of people don't realize is usually, or a lot of times when you're using EQ on anything, you are creating some type of phase distortion. You are manipulating that phase. And you don't really have that control over the slope of your actual EQ in a lot of these reverbs. What people don't realize is if you have really hard slopes, you are increasing or causing more phase distortion. Now, granted, you could like the sound of that phase distortion, but the fact that I can manipulate and have less or minimal phase distortion, being that I'm setting my dB per octave to a lower form, or I could say make it a harder slope, is awesome. So I know that there's a lot of thought that went into just this EQ section. Something else that I want you to know is with this EQ section, I can also say, hey, Reverbshaper, on the high end, I want to create a different LFO kind of manipulation with the volume and things of that nature, just to the highs. I can then say, hey, to the mids, I want you to add a crazy sweep that slopes down and goes up as far as that volume of the reverb. So I can do these awesome and incredible things with the actual Reverbshaper to basically manipulate the volume and have these LFOs that can change the feel of it. Okay. So next thing I'll move on to is obviously, let's have some fun with the reverb side, because I know deep down you really just want to hear the reverb for what it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to a factory default, open up the reverb, and let's take a listen to what the reverbs that they have in here sound like. There's a ton of different reverbs that they have in here as far as sonics and stuff like that. They have a bunch of different slaps, weird sounds, which is really interesting, textured sounds, metallic sounds, all kinds of cool sounds, but I'll run through a few of these and I'm gonna put this a little bit more exaggerated so you can really hear what the reverb sounds like. So let's play with a few of the sounds. Let's start with the standard hall.
Getting deeper, I feel like we on our way now. And I don't know where we gon' land, but baby, we gonna find out. I spent so much time with you and now I hear it so loud. It's unbearable, I can't escape or hide out. So we have to live life tonight, cause nothing ever felt this right. So I won't fight the feelings that I feel tonight. Tell me what you thinking, we can take this. Hope we both make it, cause tonight I might want you to be the light, the light. Tension getting deeper, I feel like we on our way now.
So there's a bunch of really cool sounds in here that are fun to use and just have a sound. I'm really liking the way the reverbs are sounding, being that they all really feel different. There's a lot of times when I use a lot of reverbs and I feel like I'm not really hearing much differences between them as far as the textures. But with this one in particular, I'm really noticing those different characteristics and really enjoying it. Moving on. Right here, you have the volume knob, which basically adjusts the output of the reverb, as you can clearly see with the tooltips at the bottom every time I hover over something. Here you have the decay, and this decay is actually interesting to me, and the reason why it's interesting to me is because with this decay button or slider, you could choose between gated or its standard position. Now the difference between those two is, and I want you to pay attention to, is this GUI right here where it says the lo-fi reflections underneath. If I hit gated, I get more of that traditional parameter where I can basically set the timing of the decay, whether I want it to be a second long or 2 second long or shorter than that. But notice this when I hit off the gated and put it back to its regular position. you notice that I get a little bit of a fade out on the actual reverb sound. So basically, when it's not in the gated mode, I get more of a fade out on the reverb, as opposed to when I have it on gated, it's more of a hard stop, whatever timing I set it. So the fact that I actually am able to have a fade out on the actual decay of that reverb time also makes it a lot more I don't want to say depthy, but it can give that feeling of depth in the song with just having that fade out just on the reverb, as opposed to putting it on just the standard gated function and creating a hard stop when saying at 1.18 seconds, I'm done. I'm gonna cut this reverb off. So it has a really nice sound, and it makes your reverb feel a little bit smoother and a little bit more natural, just coming in and out of whatever you're using it for. Other side we have here is the pre-delay, which is super fun to use. Obviously, if you're not familiar with pre-delay, basically it's that initial sound that the reverb says, I'm gonna leave you alone for 40 milliseconds, and then I'll approach you, giving you more of that clarity and separation when it comes to the sound source. This is very important. I think a lot of people don't manipulate this, and it also can have some really cool reflection sounds. Check this out. Let's put it low, and then I'm gonna crank the pre-delay up.
Getting deeper, I feel like we on our way now. And I don't know where we gon' land, but baby, we gonna find out. I spent so much time with you and now.
So you can create some really cool effects. Now, something you also noticed when I had the pre-delay there was when you go further over, you notice that I start to get into time signatures, 1/16, 1/8, 1/4, and things of that nature. And basically, it's creating the actual pre-delay time for you within the hosting of your sync, whatever your tempo is in your session. So if you have your session set to 100 BPM, it's basically taking that time and putting it in the 16th, the 8th, or whatever it is for that pre-delay, thus giving you a pre-delay that's actually in time. Really fun to use, easy, and it's there for you if you ever need it. But if you still want to just manipulate it by yourself with the milliseconds, you can always just move the slider and get that same effect. Cool. Here we have the size of the reverb, which is self-explanatory. You want it to sound bigger? Open up the size. You want it to sound smaller? Make it lower. This is an obvious thing. Here we have the width, which is awesome to have on reverbs. I love this on reverbs when I'm able to manipulate the actual size as far as the width of it and how big it feels. Fun thing is you can also make it very mono or mono in general to make it feel very centered. I think you can do some real cool effects if you do some modulation stuff or just some automation and things of that nature if you want to. On this side, we have the dry and wet knob, which basically just allows you to cycle between how much of the dry signal you want versus the wet. You can also put it as an aux, which is a traditional way that we use reverbs. And obviously, if I have it on an aux, I'm putting it 100% wet because I'm controlling the send from my actual send in Pro Tools. Fun thing though, right here in the middle, you have a send knob too. So you can still manipulate, even if it's slapped on the actual sound source, how much of the actual original signal you want to go into this reverb. That has a very different sound from the wet dry knob. Experiment with that, but just know it's there. Okay, now here's the thing that I was telling you guys about that really is going to fix my workflow and make things more efficient for me. They've implemented a ducking function within the actual plugin itself. So before, what I would have to do is I would literally have to sidechain the vocal, send out a copy of that vocal to the reverb, but then to a compressor and say, hey compressor, every time you hear this vocal or sound source from this bus, then duck. No more. I don't have to do any of that anymore. I can literally just go to the envelope right here and hit the duck function. And now it's going to have that all set up and duck the reverb whenever I have a certain amount of volume that comes into the actual plugin. I'm gonna show you it just from you seeing it, and then I'll explain it a little bit. So check this out.
Getting deeper, I feel like we on our way now. And I don't know where we gon' land, but baby, we gonna find out. I spent so much time with you, and now I hear it so loud. It's unbearable, I can't escape or hide out. So we have to live life tonight. Getting deeper, I feel like we on our way now. And I don't know where we gon' land, but baby, we gonna find out. I spent so much time with you, and now I hear it so loud. It's unbearable, I can't escape or hide out.
So what is this thing doing? So long story short, what this is doing is it's ducking the reverb depending on how I set the threshold of that vocal. Basically, when it sees that vocal or there's a certain amount of level that it hits or sees within that vocal, it then takes the reverb and ducks it volume-wise. Why is this powerful? Why is this amazing? Well, what it's gonna do is it's going to take that reverb and back it off whenever it hears your vocal, allowing your vocal, that dry sound, to cut through more. You're gonna notice a lot more fidelity, clarity, and separation in that vocal from the reverb. When that vocal isn't there or when things are quiet within the threshold of what it's seeing, that reverb is going to come back to zero or to its full volume. And you're gonna notice that flow and move of that actual reverb. I love doing this already within my other reverbs or plugins, but I don't have it built in. And so it's a little bit of a time consuming thing for me workflow wise to set up the sidechain and do all those things. But right here, I have it. That's epic. That's such a probably small thing that I think people are going to overlook with this plugin, but that's primarily one of my biggest takeaways from this plugin that I think is epic and awesome and that I love. So super powerful trick. Highly recommend you using that. It could really change things for you as far as creating clarity with your reverbs, big clean reverbs too. You can see that you can change the attack, the release and things of that nature. You can also move with the depth. If you increase these depths, it'll make the amount that you're ducking harder or more prevalent in the actual mix and stuff like that. So that's there. Now, let's go on to something crazy. So I showed you a little bit of this within the moment when I was showing you the EQ, but let me show you a little bit more in depth. So we have this LFO section. And basically what this section allows me to do is it allows me to manipulate the volume or the LFO that's built in of the actual reverb. For instance, I can say to myself, hey, at the very beginning, like I showed you, I want the reverb to be loud, but then I want it to swoop down and go back up. I can create all these funky, weird types of shapes and environments with this particular function within the reverb. And this is what I was talking about getting creative. Check this out. So let's just click around and let's just press a few of these buttons and listen to what the reverb does as far as these LFO tools that it can manipulate that volume and stuff like that. So check this out.
Getting deeper, I feel like we on our way now. And I don't know where we gonna land, but baby, we gonna find out. I spent so much time with you and now I hear it so loud. It's unbearable, I can't escape or hide out. So we have to live life tonight, cause nothing ever felt this right. So I won't fight the feelings that I feel tonight. Tell me what you thinking, we can take this. Hope we both make it, cause tonight
I can get absolutely insane with this as far as how I manipulate the reverb. For instance, when you're looking at this reverb right now, as far as how this LFO tool is set up, you can see that there's a big spike kind of like in that first beat where it's like loud, then it comes down coming off of that first beat, kind of has like this slope of just being steady. And then when it gets to like the third beat, it just kind of dissipates down. I mean, if you can hear what that was doing when we were actually playing it, you get an idea of the imaginative things you could possibly do with this reverb as far as changing things and manipulating things to your liking. You can get really creative with this reverb. The beautiful thing about it is I can even come in here and I can manipulate it to whatever I want. So I can change all of these parameters and kind of choose how I want it to react from a timing standpoint. You can also change the speed of that or change the length of the LFO. I'll show you exactly what I mean. Let's pick this right here. Or let's pick this for instance, actually. And then let's change the bar or how the timing is set up with the LFO. So when I go further down here, you're gonna notice that it gets faster as far as how it reacts and how it actually goes through this in completion. So check this out. This is one bar right now.
Getting deeper, I feel like we on our way now. And I don't know where we gonna land, but baby, we gonna find out. I spent so much time with you and now I hear it so loud. It's unbearable, I can't escape or hide out. So we have to live life tonight, 'cause nothing ever felt this right.
I mean, possibilities are endless within that, and it's really fun to use, and it's super easy to use as well. One thing I do want to point out to you as well in this plugin, on top of a million different things it could do, obviously this is the basic presets that they have set up, but I can even go to hit, pump, sweep, and get all kinds of different LFOs to kind of manipulate that same thing. What I highly recommend people checking out if you're going to mess with this section is coming on over to the smooth side. This is something that I noticed with a lot of LFOs. Sometimes when you do these LFOs and manipulate volume and things of that nature, and you have like these really sharp changes, sometimes you'll get clicks and pops. Thank you, cable guys, for putting in a smooth function that allows me to smooth those clicks and pops out if they do occur within the sound source. I think that's really important to point out, and I just wanted to. So this is Reverbshaper for the most part. I'm sure I did not show you literally everything that this thing could do in this plugin breakdown, but I'm really, really impressed with what it does. It's going to speed up my workflow as far as some things that I've been doing in reverbs for years. I like the sound of the reverbs. They have like this digital sound that I kind of reminds me of, for instance, like my Pro Tools Deverb and things of that nature. But then they have these really epic reverbs and these plates. It really is a diverse reverb that I think I'm gonna be able to do some really, really funky things with, and I can't wait for you to try it out. So I really hope you enjoyed that. Please make sure you comment, like, and subscribe. If you want the Reverbshaper, I'll leave a link in the description below. It would really help me out a lot as well. And you know, I really hope you guys enjoyed that. This is really something that I think I'm going to be using, and it's gonna make my life a lot easier. So please make sure you comment, like, and subscribe. Also, make sure you check us out at Help Me Devon on Instagram. Also, remember, you can become a paid member of this channel with exclusive episodes, me mixing videos from start to finish, no skips, as well as even getting money in our HMD store every single month. We try to take care of our members. So I hope that was enjoyable, and until next time, y'all.